to say I'm loving the videos, and we love to hear from all of you that you're also enjoying our switch to video. So if you're listening to this on a streaming platform, just know you can also find us on the ITSP Magazine YouTube and the Outpost Gray YouTube page.
Whoop, whoop. I'm loving it. Yeah, I think it's more personable for sure.
For sure, for sure. And you can see the smiles, you can see the enthusiasm, catch it firsthand. So today's show, super pumped, extremely hyped to bring Araceli on. Araceli Caldera is an first-generation immigrant. She's a shining star in the GRC space, and she is a personal dear friend of mine. She earned her degree from the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. She holds her Certified Information Systems Auditor, the CISA, Certified Information Privacy Professional EU, the AWS CCP, CCSK, and she is also a certified high trust practitioner. She's worked in the external audit space, and then now she's pivoted into industry, or internal role as we call it in the space, and she is now cybersecurity and trust analyst. So without further ado, let's bring Araceli on.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
How are you all?
Oh, so good. We've been so pumped to have you here. It's so great to be able to virtually hang out, and super excited to dig into the conversation today. Oh my God, I got choked up on all of your certifications. So many. I was like, you know what? All these acronyms. I'm just gonna spell it out for the people. Oh yeah, so many. You have accomplished so much in such a short time. It's been so amazing, watching you just grow in your career. And honestly, I just want to kick off the episode by asking you, did I miss anything from the intro? What other color do you want to add on your background?
I think you did great. Honestly, you did better than I usually do. So I'm going to steal that intro from you for, any future situation. So thank you so much.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. I love it.
All right. So going through your background, I actually kind of stalked you a little bit on LinkedIn. And so I think we have similar, but we've kind of flipped in our roles. That you worked in consulting. That's kind of how you broke in, like Erica, in the consulting space. And then you did a pivot, and you actually, now you're starting to work in the industry. And I find that interesting because I wouldn't say just recently, it's been almost 2 years now that I broke into consulting, which is a totally different world. I try to tell people, I also think that everybody should go into consulting because it really helps you with soft skills, but I digress. Knowing that you've gone from consulting into the industry, can you share some of your understanding and some of your experience and key differences that you've witnessed being in the consulting space and then moving into the industry role? And was there anything that actually really surprised you shifting from both of those different sectors, if you would say?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, huge difference, huge scope of work, and also very different audience that you're working for. So I would say with consulting, as a high trust auditor, in my past experience, for the most part, you have a lot of tangible and concrete end goals with the client, according to the statement of work or the purpose for that engagement. So as an auditor, I was, helping them get through, the high trust audit, making sure they were either ready for the certification or getting them that certification. So there's kind of that end goal. And with industry, when you're more of an internal role, you don't really have that defined end goal for a lot of projects or scenarios that you get thrown on. Because, at least from a certain perspective, I still have, the responsibility to help our organization get clean audit reports, on a yearly basis, or enabling our sales team to close out deals, and helping them from that GRC perspective. But I think in an industry role, you come to realize that the GRC function is really just one wheel on an 18-wheeler truck that is carrying the organization along as a whole. So, our involvement ensures that we're helping the organization move along smoothly. But, you also have the engineering and product teams that are helping us stay ahead of the game and make sure that, our product features are what our clients need. And then, sales to help close out deals, and HR to make sure that everybody is getting paid. And so you have to take all of those moving parts into considerations. And so, yeah, you do have a lot of projects or scenarios where, you're coming in with the GRC perspective, and you know that it has to be involved in some way or another, but you don't know where that fits in, or how to balance out the needs of the organization against, the GRC requirements that you have to, ensure that you're fulfilling and you're following.
Right. So do you feel, it sounds like you have taken a lot of what you learned in the GRC space and you're still applying it today?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the best part from coming from that external role, is that, honestly, when I first started my career path as an intern, I really had no idea what GRC meant. Erica was sitting across from me at that interview table, and she was saying basically, like, if you're willing to learn, I will get you there. And you jump in and you get so much exposure to frameworks. For example, like in my I had SOC and ISO, and then I had high trust. So you get exposure to these frameworks and these controls, and you start to, learn vocabulary, and you learn like security controls and acronyms for certifications that you had no idea what they were before. And then over time, you get to specialize in those frameworks, and really know what it is that you're looking for as you go through those audits. So you pull a lot of that information in, whether it's from working with a client in a different industry, financial, manufacturing, healthcare. You grow to see, the different security controls, the different requirements that they may be subject to. So one could be more complex than the other. And you also, you get that chance to explore and find out what you like. Not a lot of people like high trust. But I could say the same thing, about FedRAMP. That's maybe not my favorite framework. So you really get the chance to explore the path that you want to take. And working with a lot of those clients, you drill down just a little bit more into their environments. And so you get to see how different technical environments are set up. And a lot of that was knowledge that I definitely learned on hand through experience. That wasn't something that, I learned in a classroom. That was something that you can only really get from being, in person or remote interview session with these clients, learning about their environments. Are they cloud focused? Then you get exposure to, those different cloud providers. What security tools are they leveraging? Then you start learning more about what these different security tools do and how that can be implemented in, an organization. And then you also learn, I think the biggest thing was some common pain points between clients. It's like, what is the hardest thing for them to implement? What is the hardest process for them to get right? And all of that information as a whole, now in my internal role, in my industry role, I can say, hey, I worked with, 6, 7 clients that are also having this pain point that we're having now. And these are, the best of everything that they did to overcome that and bring that knowledge into an internal role. So absolutely, I think that having that external consulting, auditing experience helped me tremendously. And now I'm able in my role now and dig in a little bit deeper and find out the things that work best for us, and my team and the company and all of the departments. So yeah, it's been really, really great.
So it sounds like your transition was like pretty seamless. Like you got a really solid foundation on the external side, and you were able to apply that into, going into industry. Let's just say you were to be asked the question by a student, a mentee, and they said, hey, Araceli, I'm having a hard time figuring out where do I start? GRC is so big. And this is a question that we hear all the time. What do I apply for? What do I do? Where do I get started? Because you don't know what you don't know, right? And you got to start somewhere. So if you were to give advice in terms of where's the best place to get started, to kind of pave that path, what would you say?
Yeah, I think looking back now, especially knowing what I do know now, like you
Yeah.
said, really taking advantage of the resources and the networks that you have, whether you're in college or you're in a professional, student organization, taking advantage of and asking questions or just being open to learn. Because as you said, you don't know what you don't know. And if you're so set, third, fourth year in college and you're like, I want to be, a software engineer, and you really don't understand what, it takes to get there, or you only think that because you think that that's the only way you can get into,
Sure.
a GRC space or a cybersecurity role, then just be open to having conversations. And LinkedIn is a great resource. I've learned that throughout the years too, especially now, or, white papers, industries, conferences, a lot of these places, or organizations are really open to knowledge sharing. And I think that's a great thing about this industry, is that there are so many talented and knowledgeable people who are willing to, work together to figure out, where they're going next, or share, knowledge dump. And so I really think that just being open and, giving yourself the space to try out anything. And if you don't like it, well, then, now you know that you don't like it and you can move somewhere else.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that being open-minded is like one of the biggest blanket advice statements that I would give anybody in this field, just because it's always changing and there's always going to be new things that need to be tackled, new demands that are coming out based on regulations or what's happening in the industry that we're going to have to figure out. So like you started as a SOC 2 expert, right? Like that was SOC 1, SOC 2s, that was your jam. That's where you got started. Then that kind of opened you up until more of like ISO and high trust, and you got exposed to different frameworks. And so we get a lot of questions in terms of like frameworks, like, is it good to be specialized? Is it good to be a generalist? Like, what's kind of your take on that? Having been in your shoes and having been exposed to so many different frameworks, and then now you're exposed to even more in the internal role, managing the program.
Yeah, one thing I would say is that a lot of these frameworks overlap and also complement each other. So I think at the very basis, it's not really, knowing a framework from beginning to end and knowing what every control says and the specific number under what clause. It's kind of being able to take a step back and really digest, or understand it from a more like a basic level, is what is the main goal of this control or this domain family, like what is, how is it positively impacting the company, or how is it mitigating risks for the company and its clients. It's not so much the specifics of it, it's overall knowing where does this fit in. So I think if you can read one control framework and you can audit on one framework, you can audit on any framework. And I think that's a pretty standard idea in our industry too. So don't beat yourself up, I would say, if you don't understand SOC 2, if ISO is not, your jam, if you want to go into a different framework. I think just being able to have, I guess, a more business skill set or critical thinking, mindset or approach to these. And I think that's really where you'll find a lot of success.
I'm a NIST lover, so I'm a NIST framework over here. Erica's a SOC 2. Yeah, she knows.
Yeah.
We all have our jam.
We do.
I feel like I should be wearing my I Love NIST right now shirt. I have an I Love NIST shirt. I always wonder what people think when I'm at the gym, if like anybody knows what that is. Like, why would she wear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag nerd life. It's fine. It's fine.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to do a little bit of a pivot. I'm going to actually talk to you about a topic that I love and is near and dear to me, traveling. I know that you like to travel. I just got back I've already been to, Erica actually went with me to Mexico. So Mexico this year, Colombia,
Awesome.
And Ireland.
I
So
love Ireland. Great place.
yeah. And the great thing about our jobs, for the most of the time, I mean, depending on the consulting role that you're in, but otherwise, I mean, these jobs are usually virtual or nice hybrid or something in that space. But you've been able to manage a job that allows you to have that remote lifestyle, and in that you're like what's the word? The digital nomad life. So some people, like, they see that and they're like, that just sounds amazing. But I'm really curious, how are you able to manage your workload and being still successful at the job that you're doing while still traveling the world? And where are you right now, if you can share that with us?
Absolutely. Right now, I am in Georgia in the great southeast of the US, just taking a break from traveling. But before that, I was in Slovenia, Hungary, Croatia. So that was a great trip I've had. And I've been, so thankful that I've had the opportunity to do this for basically the past year. And there's definitely a lot of growing pains and a lot of trial and error with, being a digital nomad. But overall, I would, definitely push anybody who wants to do it to, have that conversation with your manager and see if that's something that's available to you. Overall, I think that managing my workload abroad really required a lot of communication. And I don't think that you could ever over communicate, in my opinion. In a lot of cases, I was 6 or 7 hours ahead of my team. And so I really needed to understand the expectations that my manager or my team had of me in that time. So, how often did I need to check in? What meetings was I absolutely required to attend? Did we have any ongoing deadlines? And so you really got to make sure that's all hashed out beforehand. It's something that works for you and your team as well. And so finding that right schedule and also remembering that that you do have to maintain, your responsibilities and you have to be accountable for your workload, and you can't just, fly off to the other side of the world and leave your team hanging, because you do want to continue that, that sense of trust and with your team and make sure that that's still there. But I'm very fortunate to have, managers who support me and encourage this lifestyle. So it's really just a balance and also making sure that you have a lot of that trust built up before then.
Yeah.
Because now my managers are like, yeah, she's got it. Like, go ahead, go run and play and work. And so that works for me. That makes me happy. And when I'm happy outside of work, I can come in and bring that same energy and give that right back into, my role and my job and my career. So it's been really, really great.
Yeah, big thing that I heard from you is credibility. I think that is key. Knowing credibility, you can't just get your first job and then expect your leadership to wholly support you as you're traveling the world. Before I pass it over to Erica, though, quick question: what has been your most favorite place to travel?
Yeah, I have really enjoyed Brazil. That was just, an incredible place. The people, the culture, the food. You see pictures or you see movies or you see videos, but it just really doesn't do it justice. And I was there on New Year's, and so that was a huge, massive, celebration. And it was one of those bucket list items. So Brazil has a very, very special place in my heart.
I love that.
And Brazilian food and the
Absolutely.
culture, all the things, all the
Yeah,
things.
the colors.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it's Latin America, so I know we're naturally drawn to that. Which
exactly.
is, which is perfect for my next question, because first generation immigrants, let's just talk about it, right? Like, it's something you and I have like totally bonded over. It's something that impacts like our day to day. It impacts like how we are. And I would love to hear from you how your background, how culturally all of that is influenced and impacted how you are professionally, what you've accomplished today, and how you lead yourself in the professional space.
Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely, being first generation is 100% part of my identity, and it's something that I'm very proud of, and I carry with me through everything that I do in my life. And I think growing up with immigrant parents too, you come to learn their stories, things that have been passed down. And as you really get older, you start to listen and you really start to understand everything that they're saying. And so I think for me at a young age, hearing those stories, knowing what my family went through, they braved the hardships, they left their home countries, they left families behind, and loves of their lives, and the comfort and stability, or stability in that moment for them, just for the chance to have, just an opportunity here in the US. Not even, nothing is uh, set in stone. So for them, it was just the chance to even be here and have this around us. And I think for me, that really clicked. And I always just thought, well, if my family could do all of this, and they had the entire world against them and made it here against all odds, what's really stopping me? So I think that's always been with me from as early on as even joining a sports team in high school, or getting a job at a fast food restaurant and working for a scholarship and making all these, making grades and doing all the things that I needed to do to further my life. It was always, what's stopping me? There's nothing stopping me. And I was going to capitalize on every single opportunity that came my way. So yeah, I think it's a huge source of strength for me. Knowing that I'm standing on the shoulders of my parents and their parents, all the people that came before me, and realizing that this is, not something that I want to. I don't want their sacrifices to, be in vain. And so, from it gives me a different perspective, and you just really start to believe in yourself, and you start to tell yourself, that success is what you want. And when you start to tell yourself, these things long enough and often enough, you start to believe them. And when you start to believe them, you start, putting that into action. And now, for me at least, I get to look back on my life so far and think, wow, I've done all of that. Like, there's so much more that I could do. So I'm so thankful to have that perspective. And even now, as I get older, I realize how more important it is to share that with other people. And, just the same way you did with me, Erica, and like I was in a situation that you had been before, and you had, a few years on me. Now I can pass that down and help somebody who was in that same situation and kind of help them and lead them, and provide support and let them know that a lot of things are possible if you really just believe it. So yeah, it's something that I hold very dear to my heart.
Oh my gosh, I'm so
So
motivated.
beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for opening up, for being vulnerable, for putting the cards on the table, because it's so true. When you see people accomplishing those things, and when you even have those moments of reflection, right? When you look at all that you've accomplished, and then you think of like how much more you have, it just really gets you motivated. And to be able to share those successes with your parents, with like your extended family, those that are still, in our native countries, like there's nothing more rewarding to me. And also being able to like see the impact that trickles downstream, being able to share that with others and inspire others. And that's exactly what you're doing right now. So thank you for doing that on our show.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just wish more individuals would have that mindset to just capitalize, I think was the word, capitalize on the opportunities, because they're out there. Each one of us on this podcast, we did not you guys both came to America and found your footing. And then I came from a childhood that was not like an easy way into the world, but all three of us, all in our own unique ways, are very resilient women. And that is awesome. I love
Yes,
it.
preach. I love it.
That is an amazing story. Wow, what a great way to wrap up the show. So, Araceli, I know individuals would love to be able to connect with you. So, what would be the best way for them to be able to contact you? Would that be LinkedIn or another platform?
Yeah, absolutely. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm always open, to chat, or professionally network, personally network. So I love meeting new people, and just continuing to grow that. So
wow, amazing. Well, thank you again for being on our show. We'll definitely have to have her back, Erica, for a round two.
Yes,
Absolutely.
thank
Awesome.
you guys. I really appreciate it.
All
Catch you on the
right.
next one.
Man, talk about an amazing guest. You guys, thank you again. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure to hit subscribe, like this video, share it out with others. Also, if you're watching this on any other platform, you guys should go check us out on YouTube at the ITSP Magazine YouTube channel or the Outpost Gray. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.